Welcome back to the Mom to Mom podcast, hosted by How to Mom, and with myself, Stephanie Sinclair, and my wonderful partner, Nikki Zwaber.
Myself, Nikki.
Yes, this is where we talk honestly about pregnancy, birth, and motherhood, pretty much without any sugarcoating, I would say.
I think so. Today, our topic we are going to talk about is what actually helps your labor go smoothly, from labor progression to supporting your chances of a vaginal birth and coping unmedicated, if that's something that you're hoping for.
Yeah, and the point of this episode is to give evidence-based information, because I'm sure you have found the closer you get to your due date, everybody seems to have an opinion or offers you like the right way to do things because X, Y, or Z worked for them. So it will, in fact, also work for you.
Yeah, I mean, how many dates is it now that we're supposed to eat?
I think like six.
6 dates.
And that put them into labor. So it's a sure thing.
It's a definitely sure thing.
No, joking aside,
yes.
We want this to be some really great evidence-based information, not to follow exactly, but to just give you some pause for thought and potentially some ideas and some options that could work for you.
Yeah, because we cannot guarantee how your labor is going to go, how fast it will be, but there are things that we can tangibly give you and talk about that can support your body just with efficiency and working with your body versus against it.
Yeah.
Labor.
And I really think if we broke it down into one sentence, it's really not about controlling your labor. We're not here to like write a roadmap because we don't know what will unfold, but it's more so about things that we can do to support your labor. So that's what we hope this episode brings to all of you. You are listening to the Mom to Mom podcast, hosted by Stephanie Sinclair and Nikki Zwaber, partners and lead doulas here at How to Mom.
We're moms, we're professionals, and we're here to make motherhood feel a little less heavy and far more supported.
How to Mom is a community built for real life. From pregnancy and birth to postpartum and beyond, we support families through education, connection, and care. Our team of birth and postpartum doulas work with families every day while also sharing stories on our podcast and our blog to curate trusted resources for moms in the Twin Cities and beyond.
On this podcast, we talk about the real stuff, the stories that stay with you, the questions you're already asking, and the moments that feel hard, hopeful, and everything in between.
Absolutely. You will hear honest conversations, expert insight, lived experiences, and reminders that you are not doing this alone.
This is Mom to Mom. We're so glad you're here. And now, on to today's episode. Yeah, I think let's start with a pretty big reality check here, like that we cannot control how long labor lasts because every labor is different and every baby is different. But like we said, there are things that as doulas we see over and over and over again that do tend to help move your labor a little bit smoothly.
Yeah. And even on the flip side, there are things that we see, that can work against labor, like exhaustion, dehydration, panic, or staying in one position for too long.
Yeah. The exhaustion is real. We should, we could talk about like exhaustion just for one whole episode. So.
If we made $1 for every time we told a client to nap, I don't think we'd have to own a business.
No, we wouldn't.
We'd be so rich.
What's the percentage of times that we tell clients to go rest and they don't, and then they confess later that they didn't?
That, or just the instant reaction of there's no way I can. And then we really have to like guide them and say, we understand it feels like you can't right now. But here are some ways to try and promote some rest. Here are the reasons why that's important.
Yes. So that's actually a hack. Although this episode is not a complete like labor hacking your labor episode, but rest is a hack. So let's move on to some movement options that actually do help progress your labor.
Yeah. So we do know movement just in itself regardless of the specific movements, will help your labor progress. Not only is it helpful in terms of like comforting and helping you cope with contractions, but movement is also super helpful, as you know, for that baby to move.
Yeah.
And the lower baby can get, we know, is the more pressure baby puts on that cervix, which means dilation and effacement continues. So, movement is just helpful for so many different reasons, but definitely to progress labor, because the lower baby can get, the further along in labor we can become. So,
yeah, even small position changes matter. It doesn't have to be this big, circus act of a position change. Like, really, it can be something really small, like putting your right leg up on a stool or your right foot up on a stool, as an example. Like, it doesn't have to be this big, ostentatious movement.
Yeah, and more just like intentional.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're not bouncing on a ball, we're doing hip circles on a ball. So it might be the same amount of time and exert the same amount of energy, but bouncing on a ball isn't intentional. Hip circles are intentional in creating space for your baby to move down. So, other things that would be helpful in terms of movement is walking. Walking is a wonderful one. Not only is it great for distraction, but also the way that your bones and body shifts and changes during walking can be extremely helpful in opening that inlet so that our baby can get a little bit lower.
Yep. I mean, I think we've said it on a few other episodes, but if you have never listened to before this episode, body moving equals baby moving.
Yep.
That's kind of a cornerstone. Like, just keep on moving, swaying, rocking your hips, like that mom sway. Like, if you don't have that yet, once you hold your baby, you will.
And you never lose it.
I've sat in the stands of the bleachers, literally mom swing, watching my 15-year-old. Like, always. It's amazing. So yeah, your body still, even then, your body knows what it needs.
Well, and that's the great thing is you can be like leaning into a countertop and you're not physically exhausting your body really much aside from standing, and your hips are just going to naturally sway. And at first, especially as like those contractions become stronger, you almost, those first couple real ones, you might feel paralyzed by it, of like, oh wow, this is more intense than what I anticipate, and it almost makes us feel paralyzed. But for like significant others, even just like gently placing your hands on their hips and just helping them kind of find movement soft and slowly, all of a sudden they're like, oh, that actually does make that feel better. And then throughout the labor, you will continue to see that just kind of happen.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a sweet, supportive move too from your support person.
Yeah, so movement. I think another really important one too, and we can lean into evidence with this, is if you are able, if it's safe for you and if it's safe for baby, spontaneous labor in itself helps natural progression.
Yeah.
It also increases your chances for a vaginal delivery.
Yes.
And if your desire is to go unmedicated, it also helps with that. And to give a little bit of background or context to that, we'd love for you to listen to the Pitocin versus oxytocin episode. And it's not because we think Pitocin is bad, but it breaks down and helps us understand why are we able to cope with oxytocin-driven contractions versus why is it harder to cope with Pitocin-driven contractions. So, that spontaneous labor is such a big benefit for so many reasons, and those reasons are usually what people are desiring, right? A vaginal birth. Who wouldn't want a labor to progress more quickly where those contractions are more effective? And then if you desire an unmedicated birth, it also leans into that as well.
Yeah. I think on top of movement, my next sort of place I'd love to go is patient. I think whatever is driving it, there's so many things. There's previous experiences of your own. There's your friends, your family, your social media algorithm,
Yeah.
all of these things, somehow I think a lot of women have decided that there is a timeline
Yeah.
that you should adhere to, or your body or your baby should be adhering to. So that feeling like you have to progress at a specific time frame, and if you don't, then that equals something wrong, failure, defeat, right?
Yeah.
So patience is the understated, and I think sometimes can be one of the hardest feelings to just accept and lean into. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. And I do think our society, we have a lot of type A personalities,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
They have literally been able to schedule and control and create opportunities in their life because they are great at planning and they are great at preparing. And labor is one of those things that can really humble a person and really make them stretch in a way that they have never been challenged. And so, when we kind of think about a type A personality, they usually want things to follow a certain roadmap,
Right.
or they have expectations of things unfolding in a certain way. And labor is just one of those things, even as doulas, like it keeps us on our toes.
Always.
I will never be somebody who says, like, I've seen it all or I know birth. Because it's one of those things left in our world
Yeah.
that, if we can see the beauty in it, is actually so wonderful because we don't know.
Yeah, wonderful because you actually can't plan it. You
Yeah.
really, really can't. There's not much.
You can try.
You can try, but how it unfolds is really out of our hands.
So, one kind of tip or piece of advice, because obviously we can tell you to be patient, but that's not always helpful. But what I feel like can be helpful when we're trying to work on our personality or our expectations to lean into patience is to really truly try and be just present in the moment, right? So maybe we're in the early stages of labor and a client looks to me and says, remind me again what pushing looks like. And honestly, I will say to them, I actually really just want you to be super present in this moment right now. I don't want you to think about what's going to come in 10 hours or 12 hours or in 24 hours. I want you to just lean in to where your body is at and where you're at in your labor right now and just be as present as possible instead of allowing your mind to wander and worry and try to plan. Like, we just want to be as present in that moment as possible. And it's not necessarily labor related, but my husband, I will say, helped me a ton with this when I was pregnant with the twin. I think I was about 26 weeks pregnant and I was measuring full for like a singleton. And I remember in my mind thinking, ideally, I want to go to 36 weeks. That was my goal.
Right.
Well, holy buckets, to feel full term and to think ahead of, I need to go 10 more weeks feeling like this, felt so daunting.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I was just like, there's no way I can do this, is what I was feeling in that moment. And Brian really helped me shift my mindset of, I don't want you to think about 10 weeks from now. Let's just make it to Friday.
Yeah.
And then every Friday we would celebrate. We made it another week. So I was just in this place of really being able to be patient and present and not worry about what's to come or how I'm going to feel in 10 weeks. So hopefully that is helpful if you're in early labor and you're trying to map out and figure out how many more hours. Just try and be super patient and present with your body. It knows exactly what it's doing.
Yep, I love that story. And I think so many people can resonate with that. Even if you are not a birthing person yet or considering it, I think it resonates with multiple different facets of people's lives of where you've been challenged with patience and having to let things unfold.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want your labor support plan to be just breathe through it, or actual tools that help?
The Comfort Measures for Labor class from How to Mom teaches real hands-on ways to cope with contractions, movement, breathing, positions, and partner support that doesn't involve panic Googling mid-labor.
This class works whether you're planning an epidural, no epidural, or let's see how it goes type of birth.
Online, practical, calming, and confidence boosting.
And hey, if you're a How To Mom client, don't forget to enter your discount code at checkout. Find more information at howtomom.com under courses. Now, back to the episode. So, in addition to reminding clients in early labor to sleep, what's the next piece of advice or reminder that we often give?
Have you eaten something? And you need to drink some water or electrolytes.
Are you eating and drinking?
Yeah, are you eating and drinking? Because with the, like, it kind of is like a little bit of a bundle deal, right? Like, so that early labor stage or that sort of anticipation stage, even coming, I'm lumping in folks who are going in for a medical induction. There's a lot of hurry up and wait that can happen. And so we're talking exhaustion, potential dehydration, and hanger, and not fueling your body for a marathon, because that's kind of what we talk about when we talk about have you eaten something, right? So all of those things bundled together can make or break your experience as well. And so I joke with my clients quite a bit, like a lot of times a little bit more with partners of like, I'm probably going to sound like your old auntie. Like, when's the last time you ate?
I know.
Like, so it's not to babysit. It's not to undermine. It really is to remind you, because we do want you to be present and you're really focused on each contraction, focusing on maybe getting that rest, but also like you need to be fueled as best as we can. And so it does play a huge part in how smooth your experience in that those early stages can be.
Yeah, I mean, your uterus that is helping your baby be born is a muscle. And we talk a lot, about exercise and how to fuel our body when we're trying to gain muscle or lose weight or see changes in our body. And you are constantly, talked to about your calorie intake, your protein levels, like all of that. Now your body is running a marathon. And it is easy to forget to eat and drink. And then all of a sudden, this muscle that is needed for this journey, it's out of fuel. It cannot be as strong and as effective when it's dehydrated.
Right.
If you are
underfed.
Yes.
Too.
And the other thing too, the reason why we are like constantly reminding you during early labor is because your body is so smart, and there will more than likely there will come a time where your body really doesn't want to intake any more food. And that's intentional. That's to create space. It's to maybe help you from throwing up a lot in labor. We still always suggest some type of nutrition, but it might not be a meal anymore. So it's like when you are able to accept that food, we want to do that, not only to keep you fueled and hydrated at that moment, but we want your body to be able to bank some of that for later.
Yep, absolutely. I often too am like, I'm not gonna like force a burrito down your throat or a cheeseburger, but like it may look like a popsicle.
Yep.
Do you want to know one of my better hacks lately?
What?
Fruit snacks.
I know. I've actually had a couple clients bring them, and at first I'm like, really? And then I'm like, actually.
Do you want to know why? I read this article about actually on sports and kids in sports and the snacks to bring. Yeah, like the orange slices, yada, yada, whatever. But like truly it was fruit snacks, because they give that little boost of energy, sugar, and that little calorie that your body just could use for that little extra boost. So
absolutely,
trust me, Costco is thinking I'm feeding the masses when I'm just feeding my moms.
Yep, you know it. Yeah, and there's so many different great snacks that can, it doesn't have to be large quantity, but that can really fill those gaps that we need, which is why like I love our protein energy balls. Like if you can plan ahead, making some of those. I also too, just in terms of hydration, if you are like experiencing what you think is maybe labor, but you're not sure, or maybe you're like, wow, I've had Braxton Hicks all day. We often want you to like check in on your hydration. Like your uterus, again, being a muscle, then can sometimes contract because you're dehydrated, just like any other muscle. So
yeah,
hydration is just important even prior to labor beginning.
Yeah,
so
and whatever electrolyte drink that fuels your fire, like totally love that there's just a ton out there to pick from. So there's really no right or wrong. It just depends on what you're really liking. So I know don't get too in the weeds as a recommendation. Don't get too in the weeds about this is not right, this is that, whatever tastes good but is giving you electrolytes, and then some minerals as well. Like just take those.
It just helps your body absorb.
Yeah, you're fine.
That hydration. So we kind of combined a bunch of different topics in this episode, not only obviously to help labor progress, which regardless of interventions or pain management is wonderful, but also how to increase our chances of a vaginal birth. And then for those who are desiring an unmedicated birth, some additional tips there. Everything that we've already talked about is great for all of those.
Absolutely. No matter how you decide this journey is going to go, like everything that we've talked about is applicable.
Yep.
I think for those who are a little curious about how to approach an unmedicated birth, either whether you're fully planning for it like ahead of time, or maybe a part of your plan is to avoid an epidural if possible, prep for the mindset of an unmedicated birth is critical.
Yep.
It just is. Like there's just no way around it.
Yes. And I know it sounds cliche and a little bit corny because you hear it at gyms, but your body truly can achieve what your mind believes. If you go into it thinking there's no way I can do that, that's probably going to be how it unfolds. But if you go into it mentally preparing, mentally manifesting, and having affirmations, even when you have those moments of doubt, which everyone does, we've already done the work to train your brain and your support people to be able to kind of breathe that belief back into you. But some physical ways that we can also prepare for an unmedicated birth. And I mean, I would even argue even unmedicated. All of these things are important.
Yeah, it's funny because we're talking about these and like, well, everybody's access to these no matter how we're doing it. Different stages of labor for everybody, regardless if you're choosing a tool like an epidural or not. It's not like most of you are not getting an epidural like when you're 1 centimeter and like not in active labor. So,
and just a heads up, everyone, like sometimes, yes, epidurals don't work. And we are seeing lighter epidurals these days, which is actually wonderful. It's decreasing the cesarean rates, but that means that we still have feeling. And so, yes, it might feel different than an unmedicated birth, but I just don't want people going into it thinking like, oh, if I get an epidural, I'm going to feel nothing. Like all of these preparation tools are important for everyone giving birth. So
yeah, having them ahead of time as part of your plan or preference in the conversations you're having with your provider, with your team, just being prepared ahead of time, knowing what you're going to be open to trying. I think things like, so again, caveat to this is so funny. I love that we talked about this for unmedicated, but it's really for everybody. But so breathing techniques, grounding techniques, that low vocalization instead of that high tension in your chest, which if you have a doula or support person, that is one thing that they should be course correcting you on in a gentle way. We hear you really high. We know that you are expending energy that is not worth it, that you really need to dig deep and bring that low.
It's crazy to see it in real time of the difference of tension in the pelvic floor with 2 different pitches.
Your jaw is directly connected to your pelvic floor.
It's crazy.
It's awesome. Look it up.
It is awesome.
Counter pressure, that double hip squeeze. We talked about that quite a bit. And I think that's a common visualization for folks who are thinking about doula support. Movement during contractions, changing positions often. And then this one particularly does apply if you are unmedicated, water if it's available.
Yes.
So
the midwife's epidural.
Yes. Tub shower, in and out, in and out. The handheld tool. Steph does a really great, and I stole it because it was so great. We were at a birth together, and we had a mom in the tub, and Steph just grabbed a cup, and we didn't have a handheld shower at the time. And so just a cup and just like doing little movements over her back with a cup of water. I just did that for my client last week, and it was so funny. She made a comment like,
Aw.
why does that feel so good? I'm like, again,
sensations are heightened, and we can either have the sole focus be the contraction. I mean, it's kind of similar to what your doula did with the touch and the feel.
yeah,
Right? It's
true.
like sensations, it's distraction, it's comfort, like it's all these things wrapped in one. Something that you think like wouldn't be that big of a deal is just heightened in labor. So,
but it's simple too.
and it's
So
simple.
everything we talked about, the breath techniques, the
Yeah.
grounding, this, that, like, this isn't to overcomplicate. Like, it's really just about keeping everything as simple and uncomplicated as possible.
Yeah. And then one thing too that is a little bit more difficult. I always say when I'm talking to my clients, I'm like, easier said than done. I know. However, it can feel very different. It's kind of similar to like the high pitch versus the low tones, is trying not to fight a contraction. So if we have the education about what is happening in our body, why are we feeling these sensations with the contraction? What is our uterus doing? What is our baby doing? What's the goal? We can sometimes ride that wave, like ride that contraction, or if we're scared of it or we don't know what's happening in our body, we tend to fight it, right? Of like, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to feel this, versus going, this intensity is actually bringing, that's my baby applying pressure. Again, easier said than done. It doesn't mean that some people don't still use the word pain to describe what they're, but it takes away that fight of like fighting against it versus kind of like embracing it or riding with it. That can play such a huge role in softening, so that when your uterus and the fundus of your uterus is pushing baby down, our pelvic floor isn't holding baby up. And then all of a sudden we kind of have, it's counterproductive.
I'm glad you mentioned intensity, because I had 2 births in 1 week last week. So they're all very fresh in my mind. My other birth, she also, during our postpartum visit, she described it. She went unmedicated. And she described it as, it wasn't really pain. It was just the intensity. And she said, in the moment, I was describing it as pain. It was so cool. She said the same exact thing you just said. She was able to look back on that experience and understand and be able to take apart, like, it was just really intense. My body could do it.
Totally.
But I had to remind myself that this intensity was bringing my baby to my arms. So I love the shift in language from pain to intensity. So that is going back to like the mindset, right? Like that's a part of mindset. What language sounds empowering to you? What language is going to take you further from that feeling of defeat or to empowering?
Language is so important.
It's so powerful.
Yeah. It's very important, and just kind of knowing and understanding that each contraction is productive, like it's doing something, versus like a pain of like breaking your arm. Well, there's nothing great coming from that.
Right, exactly.
But each contraction is getting you closer to baby. So let's just recap kind of some of the things that commonly work against labor. And obviously it's going to sound a little repetitive in terms of what we talked about can help. But there's some additional things to this list too. So exhaustion, we talked about. Dehydration.
Yep.
I think we explained why those things would work against us. Staying in one position for too long. Movement of mom's body equals movement of baby. Fighting those contractions, creating that tension. So baby's not able to move down. Panicking early and kind of exhausting yourself and your nervous system before the contractions are actually intense can really kind of work against us. Burning through all of your energy too fast. Like, okay, my contractions have started. I really want them to pick up. So I'm going to do all these things for the next 8 hours. And then all of a sudden active labor starts and you're like, I'm exhausted.
I'm gassed.
Yep. And just kind of constantly stressing over the clock, which goes back to the patience conversation that we had.
For sure. Yeah. And again, like recapping these is just a quick reminder, but none of those automatically mean that you are going to have a long labor. So just keeping that in mind. But we're just trying to recommend things that we can help you reduce those unnecessary obstacles that you do have control over.
Yep.
So our type A's out there, that bullet list we just talked about, you do have some control over that.
Yes. And what's great too is to kind of set the tone for your support system so that they too know that. They know the things that will be helpful. They know the things that won't be helpful, and they can be supportive of that when you need it most.
Yeah, I agree. Can we move into like a quick rapid fire of internet quote labor hacks? Because we love to talk about the internet.
Yes. Well, I think what we're going to say that maybe the internet doesn't always say, TikTok, all of a sudden you've hit 37 weeks, which, again, the internet might state these earlier than that, but suddenly everyone's telling you to try X, Y, and Z. Walking, that can be helpful for a lot of people.
Yep, love that. Birth ball, yes, we love a birth ball, as
Not
you
to
well
bounce.
know. Not to bounce, but to use for movement and comfort.
Yes. Dates, spicy food, raspberry leaf tea. I will say the reason why we wrote a blog post on these kind of natural techniques wasn't just to like be another, voice of here's all the things to do. But in that blog post, which we'll link below, it explains the why.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like doing all these things, but they don't even know the why behind it.
No, they're just somebody, it worked for, back to it.
Yes.
It worked for someone, so it must work for everybody.
Yes. So raspberry leaf tea is not necessarily going to put you into labor, but it strengthens the uterus, which then means your contractions are more effective because that muscle is strong. So check out that blog post. I think it would be really, really helpful.
I also like in that point too, like all of the things that we have in the blog post, I tell people all the time, like none of it will hurt you. So good news, whether or not you will go into labor at some point, whether it's spontaneous or supported by a medical induction, you'll go into labor. Can we for certain say it was the dates, the tea, the pineapple core, the orgasm? I don't know.
Yeah.
But did any of those things hurt you?
No. Right.
Go for it.
Such a good point. Absolutely. So that kind of goes with this like reality check of this entire episode is I want you all to hear this. You can do everything right. You can stack everything in your favor, and you can still have a longer labor. You can still maybe need interventions, or maybe you need to change your birth plan. That does not take away all of the work and effort that you put into preparation. No. And if anyone is selling you a course or information stating that there's a guarantee, we've talked about this before,
run.
It's a red flag.
Run. And it does not mean that you failed in birth. Again, I feel like we talk about this constantly, but just another reminder that everybody needs. It is unpredictable. And this episode and us talking about all of these things, hopefully maybe even debunking a few things for you, is really just about supporting your body as much as possible during labor, not controlling the outcome of labor.
Yep. Exactly. So let that be your takeaway. Smoother labor is usually less about like this one magical thing that worked, and it's more about kind of consistently supporting your body once your labor begins and giving it what it needs. Move when you can, stay hydrated, have people a part of your team that gives you those soft reminders, conserve your energy, change positions.
Yeah. And vaginal or unmedicated, if it's something that you're hoping for with this labor and birth, you preparing and getting your coping tools in place will go completely the distance for you. And flexibility matters too, but you can have all of those things in your back pocket as you prepare.
Yeah. So please, if this episode helped you, please share it with another mom who might be getting close to give birth, and make sure to follow the Mom to Mom podcast by How to Mom for more honest conversations about pregnancy, birth, and motherhood. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. For show notes, links, and more information, please visit our website at howtomom.com. That's HOW2MOM.com.
And remember, whether you're a mom, a parent, or a caregiver, you are doing great. It's progress over perfection, and we're all just figuring it out together.